Let's start with the American League because we're Americans who true, real red-blooded Americans. That's us. And we will talk about a mop that happened over the weekend because its relevance continues. The Kansas City Royals, who were like 7 to 8 outs away from mopping the Guardians last week. There were articles abound, including one from not yours truly is me, but mine truly, I don't know.
Jordan truly, you could say.
Jordan truly, about how the Royals were here. They were formidable. Since that day, they have lost 6 games in a row. They were mopped by the Astros. They lost last night to Cleveland. And even worse than that was they lost Vinny Pasquantino in one of those games over the weekend against Houston to a broken thumb on a freak play, bang, bang at first base. The Houston Astros just carved the Royals up in all 4 games. Houston starters allowed 1 earned run in the series. That is tough to win.
Now, obviously, any mop is going to feel a lot better or worse for one team than the other. Do you want to start with Kansas City or do you want to start with Houston? Because I have some strong feelings about both.
Let's do Houston.
Okay. So let's start with that nugget that you just dropped there, right? Now, I know they lost yesterday in Cincinnati, and we'll fold in the Monday results to our general weekend recap. That's how we're going to do this episode. We'll do the AL first, then we'll take a break, do the NL, and then we'll hit some quick hits at the end. The Astros pitching becoming a legitimate strength after how much of a mess it was in the first, not just the first month, right? Like even when they started winning in May and into June, we were still looking at this rotation like besides Ronel Blanco, who was, throwing no hitters every 5 days, it was just like Fromber was not very good. Verlander was out. The rookies, Hunter Brown was an atrocity. Arrighetti was getting blasted. Like all of these guys. I mean, at that point they'd called up Jake Bloss. Like they'd calling up all these guys, and it's just like, and the bullpen wasn't good, right? Like Hader and Presley was injured in a mess, and Abreu was giving up runs. It was just like, okay, even if this offense starts playing like the Astros, this is they will have to be overcoming their own pitching staff. Maybe the bullpen we would expect to regress back to being good, and that's generally happened. But now it's like they feel great about all these guys to the point where, partially because of workload, but partially because of how well everyone else is throwing, they're like, yeah, Ronel Blanco, probably not going to start a postseason game. Like that's an astonishing turnaround because with Ronel Blanco was all we could count on for the first 2 months, and now he's borderline expendable for them, which is really a credit to the development of guys like Brown, the turnaround guys like Brown who we've seen over in the big leagues, kind of be able to make those adjustments, and then Arrighetti, who's been spectacular, and then Verlander obviously fits into that in a very interesting way as well.
And they've needed it because the offense is freaking banged up, dude. Like Alex Bregman hasn't played it in a couple days. He's got an elbow issue. Kyle Tucker still hasn't come back. That's hopefully coming soon for them. But they ran out an outfield yesterday in Cincinnati of Ben Gamel, Chas McCormick in center, who they sent down like 3 days before that, and then Jason Hayward in right field. So this Astros lineup, when they play the team that you care about, you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, that's really not that good. And then you're going to see Spencer Arrighetti, who you've never heard of before. And then it's the 7th inning and there are no runs for your team.
Yes. However, one other name that I forgot to mention, which is very important to this. Well, two other names that have to be mentioned when we're talking about Houston. One is Yusei Kikuchi. They give up 3 prospects who are all close or at the major league level to Toronto for Yusei Kikuchi, the rental. And we said, what are you doing? Okay, it's good you went and got a pitcher that you clearly needed. I mean, no one doubted that the Astros needed a starting pitcher. So in that sense, and we even said at the time, like, okay, this is a pretty hefty price to pay for Kikuchi. But I mean, man, like, how good is Yusei Kikuchi? Well, it turns out pretty freaking good, especially once he starts throwing his slider 35% of the time instead of 20% of the time. He has been fantastic, and now you have a lot of confidence in a guy like him to start a postseason game. But then the other one, which, is Yordan Alvarez, who has once again quietly, I believe, has the second highest OPS in baseball over the last 2 months behind Aaron Judge. and it's just been ho hum. I mean, he's settled into just that, like, so because what he's doing is never quite like historic. He's just been at this exact level basically now for four years, that it's just like, yeah, that's Jordan, of course. And because no one wants to like go out of their way to like be excited about the Astros, which is totally fair, Jordan just kind of ends up being collateral damage and not getting the love that he absolutely deserves. And he's still one of the best hitters on earth. And while the rest of this offense has been either injured or struggling, he just keeps on keeping on.
I was in the press box last week when he hit 3 homers in that game against Philly, and I'm like mid conversation with someone and he hits the 3rd home run and everyone just starts laughing, right? It's just his home runs. That is a ridiculous thing for a human being to accomplish. But the Astros look better on the mound than they have all year. They have 6 players that you could legitimately start in a postseason game. The real interesting conversation, I actually want to save this for tomorrow, is should Justin Verlander start a postseason game? In my opinion, the answer right now is no. He was shaky again yesterday in his 3rd start off the IL. Don't want to dig into it too deep. Let's table that for tomorrow. The Kansas City Royals, however, they are riding the struggle bus. We have 6 losses in a row for them. They, right before the waiver wire deadline, were incredibly active, bringing in Robbie Grossman, Tommy Pham, and Yuli Gurriel, who's already hurt.
Well,
because he's 40.
Yeah. So, like, respectfully, like the random hamstring tightness in your first game, like,
yeah, dude.
Kind of the thing that then happens sometimes when you're trying to play 40-year-old players. But that was a last ditch effort to, backfill this devastating injury to Vinny Pasquantino, the broken thumb that at the very least is going to keep Vinny out for the remainder of the regular season. I appreciate Vinny very understandably being like, my season's not over. I'm going to try to come back. I mean, the timeline they give this 6 to 8 weeks, that pushes it to, the middle of October. Are the Royals still playing then? Who knows?
Hell
but
yeah.
The point is, right, we hope so. But, it's good to, I'm not surprised that they went out. I mean, it's probably likely they were going to claim at least one of these guys anyway. But because there are clearly still some holes in this offense. But that's the thing. I mean, they could afford to have a bad weekend in Houston. I'm not sure they can afford to lose Vinny at this stage.
So here's the deal with the Royals. They're still 4.5 games up on that last wild card.
Yeah.
The bottom has fallen out here for them. But the worst case scenario is them just falling ass backwards into October. I can't really see the Red Sox chasing them down to get into the playoffs. And then once you're in, and that if you're the 6th seed, right, and you're still only a game back of the Twins, if you're the 6th seed, your first game is either going to be against the Astros or the Guardians, right? Almost certainly. And like, you have Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo have been really good, and Bobby Witt Jr. could just like win a game for you. So it's to me, the sky is not falling in Kansas City, even though they have lost 6 games in a row.